Hello everyone, this is lecture 9 on topic time, speed and distance. Today we'll continue our discussion on how to tackle variety of problems based on boards and streams. I'll discuss two extremely important types of problems, so make sure to watch these sessions sincerely and completely. In fact, my suggestion would be whenever a problem appears in front of you, try solving it on your own first, because then only you will be able to appreciate the challenges and the approach which I'll use to solve them. So that's the agenda. Let's dive in. A boat can travel 35 kilometers upstream and back, taking a total of 12 hours for the journey. The speed of current is 1 kilometer per hour. Find the speed of boat. What I want to calculate? I want to calculate speed of boat. Speed of current, or you can also say it as speed of river, is 1 kilometer per hour. Now, if you read the condition, it says a boat can travel 35 kilometer upstream and back, means 35 kilometer downstream, taking a total of 12 hours for the journey. So what boat is doing? Boat is traveling 35 kilometer downstream and 35 kilometer upstream, taking a total time of 12 hours. So guys, if you look at the right hand side, in right hand side I have the value of time, but in the left hand side, if you look at the values, these are values of distance. So to maintain the consistency, let me convert the distances in the form of time. You know the formula of time, distance upon speed. I know the value of distance. So 35 kilometer downstream distance at what speed? Speed downstream. 35 kilometer upstream distance with what speed? Speed upstream. And now both the sides are consistent. In both the sides, I have value of time. In left hand side, I have time downstream and time upstream. And when I add the two times, I get the total value of time, that is 12 hours. I hope the equation is understood. Now, we already know how do we calculate speed downstream. Speed of boat plus speed of river. Likewise, what is the formula of speed upstream? Speed of boat minus speed of river. And this should be equals to 12. So let me plug in the value of speed of river. Speed of river, we are already given with. Speed of boat plus 1. Speed of boat minus 1. And this should be equals to 12. So guys, if you try solving this mathematical equation, it will turn into a quadratic equation. You can try solving it on your own. But what I want you to realize, without creating a quadratic equation, I can get the answer of my question very easily. All you need to do is you have to attempt this question with a smarter approach. And the smart approach in this question is option elimination. So you would be provided with 4 options. So I want you to pick 4 options one by one and mark that one option as your answer which satisfies the equation. What I'm trying to tell you, let's say these are the options which you are being provided with. 5, 6, 7, 8. What are these? These are values of speed. Speed of what? Speed of boat, because this is what I want to calculate. Since I want to calculate speed of boat, so in the answer options also, I'm being provided with speed of boat only. And out of the 4 options, one option has to be my answer. So what I'm trying to tell you, start with an option which you think can be the answer of your question. Start with any option. So let's say I start with option B. In option B, the value of speed is 6 kilometer per hour. Speed of what? Speed of boat. So if I assume speed of boat as 6 kilometer per hour, simply plug in the value of speed of boat in this particular equation. See, 35 upon speed of boat is 6, 6 plus 1 plus 35, 6 minus 1. This should be equals to 12. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7, 5, 35. Isn't it? 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 times what? 7. Now simply add the two values of time. Is it equals to 12? Yes. So option B contains a value which satisfies the equation and therefore it has to be my answer. Now some of you are thinking, sir, what if the other option satisfies the equation too? It can never happen. You can cross verify. See, if I assume this as my answer, I'm assuming speed of boat as 5 kilometer per hour. So if I assume speed of boat as 5, so 5 plus 1 is 6 plus 35 upon 5 minus 1, 5 minus 1 is going to be 4. what would you realize? 35 is not completely divisible by 6. Likewise, 35 is not completely divisible by 4. Even if I divide, I get decimal answers here. But the answer which I'm expecting after adding the two values of time, it should be an integral value, and therefore option A can never be my answer. In fact, if you pick the other two options, for example, option C, it contains 7. So 7 plus 1, 35 upon 8. Again realize 35 is not completely divisible by 8. So how can this be my answer? And therefore option C is also eliminated. Likewise, had you checked option D, 8 kilometer per hour, 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 can never divide 35 completely, and therefore it can never be my answer. So out of the four options, there is only one option which can be my answer, and it's a pure coincidence that I have picked option B and it happens to be my answer. See, the idea is always start with the middle value. So 5, 6, 7, 8. I thought why not to start with 6? To never start with extreme values, always start with some middle value. It will give you the direction. अगर 6 मेरा आंसर होता भी नहीं, तब भी मुझे एक डायरेक्शन मिल जाती कि मुझे 6 से नीचे चेक करना है कि 6 से ऊपर. And therefore always starts with a middle value when you are checking the option. It will always help you to reach to your answer quickly. So I hope you were able to understand this, and now it is time to discuss one last problem. So let's read the question first. A boat goes 5 kilometer upstream and 4 kilometer downstream in 8 hours. While if it goes 6 kilometer downstream and 8 kilometer upstream, it only takes 12 hours and 30 minutes. What is the speed of boat when it is going upstream? So in this question, I want to calculate speed upstream. Now, don't get confused by just reading this much, speed of boat. I have to calculate speed of boat, but when it is going upstream. So in actuality, I want to calculate speed upstream in this question. So let me first write down the data which we are given with. A boat goes 5 kilometer upstream. So 5 kilometer upstream, so I'm using upward sign. And 4 kilometer downstream in a total of 8 hours. Now this is where you need to be a little careful. 6 kilometer downstream. So they have given downstream distance first. If you read the first statement here, they have mentioned 5 kilometer upstream first. But here it says 6 kilometer downstream. So 6 kilometer downstream and 8 kilometer upstream. So please make sure to maintain the same order. In how much time? In 12 hours and 30 minutes. Now can I write 12 hours and 30 minutes as 12.5 hours? Because in 1 hour there are 60 minutes. So can I represent 30 minutes as 0.5 hours? Because it is half. 30 minutes is half of 60. So half of 1 would be 0.5. So same 12 hours and 30 minutes can be represented as 12.5 hours. So these are the two equations. Now some of you might be thinking, sir, if I look at the two equations and see the value which is written on the right hand side, these are time values. But if I look at on the left hand side, these are distance values. So to maintain the consistency, let me write down everything in terms of time only, because in right hand side, if you look at the values, these are values of time, but on the left hand side, these are distances. So to maintain the consistency, I have to convert everything in terms of time. So let me convert these equations. So 5 kilometer is the distance. If I divide this upstream distance with upstream speed, I get the value of time upstream, plus 4 kilometer downstream distance with what speed? Speed downstream. This is equals to 8 hours. Likewise, if you look at the second equation, 8 kilometer upstream with what speed? Speed upstream. And 6 kilometer downstream with speed downstream. It is equivalent of 12.5 hours. Now, if you see these two equations, these are consistent. Everything is in terms of time, so I can solve it now. But then the problem is, if you see this thing carefully, how many unknowns I have? You would say, sir, there are two unknowns. And how many equations? We have two equations. So if I look at it mathematically, I have everything to get the answer. Two unknowns, two equations. I can very easily get the answer. But then the problem is, if I look at these values, these are fractional values. So if I try solving these two equations simultaneously, I have to deal with fractional data. And dealing with fractional data will take some time. And therefore, I have to think about some other way. So what I'm trying to tell you, This is not the right way of answering this particular type of question. So how we are going to deal with this? Please come back here. Look at these two equations again. So what I want you to maintain the two equations in the same form, right? Do not try to make anything consistent. We'll solve them the way they are. Just treat them as two simultaneous equations. I have two equations, equation 1 and equation 2. Try to solve these two equations. So what do I want to calculate? I want to calculate speed upstream. So to get the value of speed upstream, I'll try eliminating downstream data. So try eliminating this. And how would you eliminate this? By making the two numbers same, 4 and 6. So think about LCM of 4 and 6. You would say, sir, LCM of 4 and 6 is 12. Now, how would you make this 4 as 12? You would say, sir, I'll multiply this 4 by 3. And since you are going to multiply this by 3, you have to multiply each and every number in this equation by 3. Likewise, if I ask you how would you convert 6 to 12, you would say, sir, let's multiply 6 with 2. Since I have multiplied one of the numbers by 2, let's multiply everything by 2 in this equation. And now the new equations will be written in this way. 15 kilometers upstream plus 12 kilometers downstream in 3 8 24 hours. Second equation, 8 to 16 kilometers upstream movement plus 6 into 2, 12 kilometer downstream movement. 12.5 into 2 will give you 25 hours. Now let us do one thing. Since we are trying to solve them simultaneously, let us subtract this equation from first, second from first. So signs will get changed. Okay. First of all, 12 kilometer will rule out 12 kilometer. 15 minus 16 will give you minus 1 kilometer upstream movement. And how much time? Minus 25 plus 24 will give you minus 1 hour. This minus sign will be ruled out. So from here, what I get to know that 1 kilometer upstream movement can be done by this boat in 1 hour. And you know how to calculate speed? Speed upstream is going to be distance upon time. So simply plug in this data here, distance and time value. The distance traveled by boat while going upstream is 1 kilometer. And how much time? In 1 hour. So can I say that speed upstream is nothing but 1 kilometer per hour? Not only this, tomorrow if they ask you to calculate speed downstream, calculating this will not take much time. Use any equation. So if I use this first equation, what I know, 5 kilometer upstream movement. So try to understand this. 5 kilometer upstream movement. With what speed? How do we calculate the value of time? Distance upon speed. Speed upstream, because this is upstream movement. So speed upstream, I just calculated, it is 1 kilometer per hour. So how much time? You would say, sir, 5 hours. It means this 4 kilometer downstream movement must have completed by this boat in how many hours? Simply remove this 5 from 8. It means in 3 hours. So in 3 hours, the boat has traveled 4 kilometer downstream. So would you be able to calculate speed downstream? How do we calculate speed downstream? You would say the distance value is 4 kilometer. And how much time? 3. So this is going to be 1.33 kilometer per hour. So tomorrow if they ask you to calculate speed downstream or any other value of speed, you can calculate it very easily. Remember I told you, if I have any of the two speeds, like in this case, I have calculated speed upstream. It's 1 kilometer per hour. Speed downstream is 1.33 kilometer per hour. Using these two speeds, I can calculate speed of boat and speed of river too. Not very difficult. You know the formula. So this is how we can deal with any type of variation on this type of question very easily. So I hope you were able to understand these two questions. So with this, let me close the session. If you have any queries, please write down your queries in the comment box. If you have enjoyed the session, like, share and subscribe. Thank you and have a nice day.